the problem with that is when that thing goes away, or whether that's retirement one day, or whether I get injured, or whether I just have a bad game, or whether I lose my starting spot, when those things go away, well, then we feel like we're nothing. We feel like we don't matter. We feel overseen. It really affects our identity and our view of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
The Fierce Athlete Podcast is here to empower female athletes to thrive in their God-given identity and femininity. You are a daughter of God, fully feminine, fully strong. Welcome back to the Fierce Athlete Podcast. This is Sam Kelley, along with my co-host,
Julianna, Dalton.
And we're so excited for revamped Fierce Podcast 2.0, episode 1. And we, in Julianna and I discussing where we wanted to start, we thought we had to start at the core. And so we want to discuss identity.
Yeah. Who we are, what we do, all the things. It's super interesting. I think in society today, especially with young people, and we're speaking to young athletes, we're speaking to parents of young athletes, coaches, but we really want to speak into the heart of athlete. I think anybody following can learn from this, but to the heart of the current athlete, there is a lot of, I'd say, confusion surrounding this concept of identity. Mm-hmm.
I think if you look at society as a whole, everybody is looking, and it makes sense to know who they are, but there's this like labeling that happens.
Right.
Like, I just need something to identify with.
Yeah.
And I think that creates a lot of confusion.
Yeah. And in sport too, right? We are labeled a lot. It's like, hey, I'm a pro, I'm an All-American, I'm a whatever it is. But what is at the core of identity is not who we are as an athlete.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, we want to kind of start there and just say, all of us in a very proud way, I think, love to identify with, well, I'm an athlete, or I'm a pro, or I'm an All-American, or I'm a UConn soccer player, whatever it is, which are things I think we should be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
As athletes, we've worked really hard to get to those things, but that's just a part of who we are.
Yeah. A minuscule part, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who we are as just people in general.
Mm-hmm.
And athlete is one of my favorite labels I have, but it's not at the top of my list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of if I were to make a list of all the things I am or could be or who I am today, it's like, yep, it's slowly falling down as a former, right? It's like, it's falling down, but it's still at the core, like, who am I?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, again, and we're not sitting here saying, okay, you can't identify as an athlete, but we almost want to give permission to athletes to say, well, I'm actually so much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think oftentimes how we're viewed or pigeonholed is just in a way that says, well, no, you're just an athlete. And I think even beyond that, if we look at kind of this concept of identity in terms of performance, which really, I think, we'll discuss, but then it can turn harmful if we just identify ourselves by our performance within athletics.
Right.
We define ourselves by a starting position. We define ourselves by making a certain team, getting into a certain college, by a certain time.
A stat.
Gosh, yeah. Volleyball is so full of stats.
Oh, yeah.
Soccer, not so much. We kind of feel reduced to those things.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes by other people.
Right. And I feel like for me, it was the hardest when I went to college was like, okay, I made that team. I did this. I am now on the team. And it's like, now I'm just a freshman athlete. It's like those labels never stopped for me at one point.
Yeah.
It was, what is the next thing I'm going to identify myself as?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, where does it end? Right.
Yeah.
And you are so much more than that is where I was like, oh, yes,
Yeah, because to your point, it's kind of like this hamster wheel of identities.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's for me, it was like, okay, I'm the high school, 9-time state champ, just to drop a little little mic there. And then I go to UConn and I get injured, and it's, well, I'm the injured kid.
And then it's, well, I'm the soccer player trying to come back. And then it's, I'm the upperclassman soccer player. And then you graduate and it's, I'm the rower or I'm the triathlete or whatever, all the crazy things I do now. But it is this hamster wheel, and it's kind of like those things, like even when they change or even when we achieve, they never fully satisfy us.
Right.
And I think they're kind of reductionistic in a certain sense, because we do feel like, well, am I just that?
Right.
And I think there's plenty of people, whether it's coaches or teammates or fans or social media, that can make us feel like we are just that.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point of that hamster wheel, it's the revolving door of these labels. It wasn't until, my dad. If you don't know my dad,
we're going to talk about Julianna's dad a lot.
He will be quoted
frequently on this podcast. Right. Matt. Shout out Matt. It wasn't until I think it was my sophomore year. I transferred for my first time I transferred. We'll get into that. But he said, you know what? You have this hole in your heart. And I was like, what? I was like, I love so well and I'm personable and all these things. And he's like, no, that hole is God-sized. And the only thing that can fill it is God. And I think that's what I was trying to do, was fill it with all these labels instead. So. Yeah. And the thing about when you said it's God-sized, right? Like God's an eternity. God is infinite. And so it's an infinite hole. So literally nothing else can fill it.
Right.
Now there's certain things that point to God when we shift our perspective on sport. Like sport's not a bad thing. Being an athlete's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a great gift, but it will never fully satisfy us, to your point. Because I think what happens, right, is, well, if I identify myself as an athlete or as a stat or as, whatever within athletics, the problem with that is when that thing goes away, or whether that's retirement one day, or whether I get injured, or whether I just have a bad game, or whether I lose my starting spot, when those things go away, well, then that God-shaped hole is like massive.
Right.
We feel like we're nothing. We feel like we don't matter. We feel overseen. It really affects our identity and our view of ourselves. And so I say this, like, if you're labeling your identity by these things that aren't infinite, that aren't eternal, then you're just going to be confronting your failure,
right,
over and over and over again.
And that word failure, that's our least favorite word when we identify as athletes. It's like, hey, I just failed. I just hit the ball. I got blocked twice, right? Volleyball. Like, I just got aced. I missed my serve. I failed. And it's like, now I'm done and I don't have, I always say, I work at a restaurant on the weekends and it's my favorite thing. And people are always like, oh my gosh, how tall are you? What are you doing? And I'm like,
side note for our listeners, Julianna's 6'5".
6'5". Yeah. You can't tell in this big white chair.
Maybe 6'6".
With the hokas on, maybe 6'6". Yeah. But at the restaurant, people are always like, oh, how tall are you? And I always tell them, or I let them guess. And then they're like, well, you have to play a sport. And I'm like, oh, I used to. They're like, well, and I always say, I'm retired. Right. And it's like, okay, there's another label, but I'm retired and I feel at peace with it.
Yeah. You can say that in freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, because I know that God is filling that size hole.
Yeah. And this struck me as you were talking, when those things happen, right? Whether it's you're no longer an athlete, or you miss a ball out of bounds, or you don't get a PR. And that word failure comes up, it goes from I failed to I am a failure.
Right.
So you see that shift from action to identity? Because then we start to believe I'm a failure. But when that hole is filled by God, everything kind of, it's like, it bounces off, right? And we can look at those actions, right? We can look at those things, those, balls we hit out of bounds, or those opportunities where, we came up short, or
the goal missed.
Yeah. And we can look at them and say, okay, these are now opportunities for growth. But and I'm like having this epiphany right now, but if it hits my identity, then that's a lot harder, right? I can't almost separate myself from it to look at it in a more of an objective way. Because it's like, know like something's wrong with me inherently,
Right.
or this affects my inherent worth,
Yeah.
or my perceived worth, not my inherent worth. Where when we allow the Lord in, and we can maybe talk about how to do that, but when we allow the Lord in, and when God is filling that hole, when He is our true identity, being His daughter ultimately is our true identity, then everything else is like a learning opportunity.
Right.
It's an opportunity to be grateful. I think, yeah, there's this interesting, this is totally kind of segmenting off. Let me pause there and see if you have any thoughts, because I have another kind of segmented thought, but
Yeah. I mean, exactly like this, just as we're talking, it's instead of, oh, wow, I had a really bad game. It's like, no, I just played bad.
Mhm.
I'm bad. My freshman year of college, my whole entire attitude towards the rest of the day, we practice early mornings, right?
Mhm.
6 a.m. lift, 7 a.m. practice. If I had a bad practice, my whole day would be bad.
Oh yeah, same.
And as soon as I made that, no, that was a failure, not I am a failure switch, is when my days were a lot better.
Yeah.
Because my day wasn't determined on whether I performed in practice or not. So
yes, 100%. And the kind of the second thought I was having related to that is that when we look at our true identity, right? So our true identity is that we're daughters of God, period. Sometimes, and I find this with, to kind of be explicit, with some Christian athlete groups, I find that there's this sense of, okay, my identity is daughter of God. And so my identity as an athlete can't compete with that. It creates this kind of like for example, I've heard people say, "Well, how many hours a day are you spending with the Lord?" And it's like, "Okay, well, I try to pray for, 30 to minutes to an hour in the morning, and then I try to go to mass, and I try to do all these things, right? Maybe I'll pray at night." And then they're like, "Well, how many hours are you spending training?" And it's like, "Well,
5 or 6.
yeah,
right?
as a college athlete, 5 or 6. Now, for me as a triathlete, I mean, a minimum of 1.5, sometimes up to 4 or 5.
Right.
Only on the weekends, sometimes. And it creates this like, well, your faith and your athleticism are competing.
Or they have to be separate.
Yeah, it's this disintegration.
Right.
And you'll hear us talk repeatedly at Fierce about kind of this integrated view of the person as kind of body, soul, or body, mind, soul, this integrated view of the spiritual with the physical, this integrated view of identity. And so, yes, my core identity is that I am a daughter of God.
Right.
Period. And God created me athletic.
Yeah.
And so our gifts, our talents, our uniqueness, the things that we pursue, the things that we love, they're a part of who we are. Now we don't want to reduce ourselves to that, because that's where that kind of temptation and failure and, hit against our identity can come. But I am living out my identity as a daughter of God when I play my sport.
Right.
And I think there's a beautiful like shift and a freedom in that.
Yeah. And it's almost a disservice, if you will, if we were to have all these God-given talents and not use them on display. And that's where I think that like separation comes, is like, oh, I'm a Christian athlete, so I can't be super competitive and give a stare down, right? That's like, they can coexist or be in the same, it can all be within, because, right, the daughter of God is our identity, period. But as a daughter of God, He gives us unique gifts. And if we were to not use our athletic abilities, it's like, well, we're just kind of almost shutting Him out in a way. So,
yeah. And again, it's, and I use this analogy a lot, right? It's like Julianna and I, if you are watching our brand new, beautiful podcast studio, if you're just listening, then give us a peep on YouTube or social media. But we're sitting in these beautiful new white cush chairs.
so plush.
They're so nice. And we're both like, I'm 6 feet tall, you're 6'5", and we like swim in them. They're awesome. It's like, I'm going to take a nap right here. It's Birdie, my dog's new favorite chair. She might make a guest appearance at some point. But anyway, I always talk about this, but like Juliana, you could sit in that chair for the rest of your life. No, it's a nice chair. It's a comfy chair. And this is a very beautiful studio. You could sit there the rest of your life and do nothing. Or you could go on to make the Olympic volleyball team and solve world hunger and cure cancer and end all world wars and win a Nobel Peace Prize. You could do all those things. Or you could just sit in that chair and God would still love you the same.
Hmm.
And so it's this really beautiful, like thing we have to distinguish, because it's like, we are just daughter, period.
Mm.
We're just loved, period. We were made by love, for love, because God is love.
Right.
We weren't made to be used. We weren't made to do anything. I mean, we were given a mission and a purpose, but that's our response to the free gift of his love.
Mm.
And so it's like, yes, we need to look at our gifts, our talents, in this case, our athleticism, but we're so much more than that, right? I just discovered yesterday that Juliana can sing. I was like, wait, you have a really beautiful voice. She just looks at me, she goes like, yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe it's our beautiful voice, or our sense of humor, or whatever, our personality. Like, we've been given all of those things. And that's how we respond. That's how we honor God.
Mm.
But it's this like, that's not how we have to earn his love.
Right.
You know, we already are loved.
Yeah. And back to the God-sized hole in our heart. It's like, if you were to look at a heart and it's a puzzle piece, has all these little puzzle pieces, and there's one missing and it's a cross, for example. And it's like, that puzzle piece is those talents. It's I'm the volleyball player. It's maybe I can sing. It's you have a great smile. It's all these little traits or personalities that make up that heart puzzle piece, but it's ultimately at the center, God, and being a daughter of him.
Yeah.
They're just
it's almost
extras.
like the whole puzzle's God.
Yeah.
And then when everything's like, I just with this analogy, but like every piece, when surrendered to him, when given to him, when consecrated to him, whether that's my daily workout or my prayer time or my family time or my schoolwork, like all those pieces, right, fill that God-shaped hole because he's a part of it all.
And they fit. And it's perfect because his love is perfect.
Amen.
Yeah. And it's almost like when you're doing a legit puzzle and you
love
put in
puzzles, by the way.
You put in that last piece and you kind of just like sit back and you're like, oh, yes, it's done.
It is done.
It's beautiful. The image is complete.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that is what God did with us. He made us up in his image and likeness.
Mm-hmm.
And then he fills us with him and who our identity is as a daughter of him. And it's like, he just sits back and he's like, yes, that's my daughter. You know?
Yeah.
I love it.
It really, it like changes everything. And I think when we then sit in that, and we'll get to it, but I think that's what we're going to encourage our listeners is to sit in. But I mean, even as you said that, I'm like, all right, can we just like pause the podcast for a second? Because I want to go weep and I want to just like sit in that truth for a hot sec. But when we sit in that reality of our identity as daughter, of that beautiful puzzle that he's created, a beautiful image of himself that's coming together, it then allows us to approach sport, in this case, with a lot of freedom. And I remember that moment in my own life after I encountered the Lord in college. You know, it took a little bit, but there was a moment in a practice where I just kind of was like, Lord, like, this isn't fun anymore. And he kind of like shook me and he's just like, that's because you're making it all about you. And I need you to make it about me and about like your teammates secondarily, and return to like the love of the game and return to enjoying this sport with me. I mean, that moment like shifted. I mean, it was just that shift of like, no, not only am I his daughter, but everything I do needs to be consecrated to him. And when we do that, when we realize that, okay, no matter, and this all happened within a soccer drill that I was like severely messing up. But once I let go, I started playing a lot better. I mean, from there on in my career, but I just had this like sense of just ultimate freedom, knowing that win or lose, miss or score, PR or not, I was loved. And the removal of that pressure for me made all the difference, because again, it went from, well, I'm a failure, or I suck, or I can't do this, to no, this is all learning opportunity. And no
Yeah.
matter what happens, I'm loved.
Right.
And that actually gave me the freedom to perform better.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's so cool about that is knowing that that freedom will come. Like he is all loving and all knowing. And as soon as you can accept that your one true identity is a daughter of God, that's when the freedom comes in, right?
Mhm.
And I remember so specifically, I transferred my 5th year. So graduated college, decided to play a 5th year. And I didn't want my whole entire day, right? We were talking about how long we trained or how long I didn't want my whole entire purpose of going to a new school was to just be this amazing volleyball player. I just wanted to go to school and meet some new people and have a new experience, right? And it's when I mean, I went from going to 2 Final Fours to not making the tournament, right?
Mhm.
And it's like I could have looked at that and labeled myself as, "Oh, now I'm a lesser volleyball player on
Mhm.
a scale,"
Right.
if you will. And then it's like, no, 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 I'm still this like all those things that fill that God-sized hole. I'm
Were you
still
going to
me.
say I'm still a BA volleyball player? Because that's what popped into my head.
I'm still great, but no. I mean, yeah, it's that realization of he will ultimately bring us that freedom and that healing.
Mhm.
It's just when are we going to make that get off the hamster wheel and stop producing all these labels?
Yeah.
When are we going to just let it be
Yeah.
and just be
Mhm.
in be an athlete, but be his?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and I think that's encouraging for our listeners because they might be listening and be like, "Well, I want that."
right.
But I see all these ways that I still label myself as an athlete, or I still get frustrated when things don't go well, or I
Mhm.
still judge myself or think I'm worthless. And I think that's encouraging because in one regard, right, the way that God comes into our lives is so unique and so specific.
Mm,
And I there's a loving touch in that, right? It's never the same for
yeah.
for any of us because we're all unique and specific, and the way that He desires to heal and captivate our hearts is different. So to your point, yes, it will happen. If it hasn't, but even if it has, we're always facing new circumstances. We're always facing new
Mm,
opportunities, and it's kind of this daily it's a posture, right? It's this daily surrender to the Lord, no matter what we're facing, whether that's a new team or a new school or a new state of life or a new season or
mhm.
just even a new day, a new practice. There is always that constant invitation to surrender everything to God and to learn, right? You're gonna have those moments where you do get frustrated or you do fail or you do fall into discouragement. I mean, I still do
Yeah.
as I
Oh,
compete and
right.
train and, get mad and, criticize myself for a bad swim or whatever's going on. And it's again, no, I need to detach, I need to surrender this to God, and I need to realize no matter what, I'm loved and His daughter.
Yeah.
And so it will happen, and there will be continued invitation for it to happen.
Right. Yeah, it's not oh, it happened, I'm healed, I'm fixed, right? Because healing initially or ultimately is God's ongoing love and
Mhm.
his just want to love.
Mhm.
And but we have to also want to accept that.
Mhm.
Those daily struggles, those daily battles is what he wants us to come to him in.
Yeah.
It's like if life was easy, we'd all be athletes or we'd all be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but that's the good news in all this is we know what it is to persevere towards a
mm,
goal, right?
yeah,
We've learned that virtue. And relationship with the Lord is something to receive, but it's something at the same time that we do have to work at.
right.
It's a deep truth. Let me ask you this as we kind of wrap up a little bit here, because said we would talk about this earlier. I mean, how do we do that though? Like, okay, for somebody listening, they hear us say, okay, my deepest identity is I'm a daughter, and I hear you say that, but I want to be on the other side. Like, I want to be in freedom. How do we connect those dots? How do we accept our deepest identity as daughter?
Mm, yeah, I mean, I guess it's a twofold. There's the one, knowing that your identity is not just an athlete, and
Mhm.
it's kind of I would encourage our listeners to write a list of all those labels you've given yourself.
Yeah.
Almost like that pros and cons list, right? Of like, here's all my labels I've given myself as an athlete. And then it's like, okay, at the top you have daughter of God. And then all those labels. And it's like, what is serving me and what is not serving me? And it's a daily list. But yeah, to be on that other side is just to trust. And that seems so simple, and it really is.
Yeah.
Surrender all those thoughts and feelings you have about who you are and who you can be as an athlete. Just surrender.
Yeah.
What would you say is, I mean, that surrendering piece is, how do we surrender, right?
$1 million question I'm still trying to answer probably. To your point, I think it is simple. Surrender, trust, these words that we throw out, they're a choice, not a feeling. And we have to kind of fight the, well, I say a prayer and I'm saved mentality, but really there is something when we just say a simple prayer to God. And it could be something, and I invite you to just, even if you're like, I need this right now, just like bow your head and pray this with us. But it's something as simple as, Jesus, I am your daughter. Help me to accept the fullness of that truth and that reality in my life. Amen.
Yeah.
And I think to follow up to your point is, and I think that'd be a really great takeaway for our listeners today. Something that we're going to do in these new episodes is just give you a takeaway as athletes. We're good at practicing things consistently. It's just in our nature. It's what we've learned. It's a habit we've learned, if you will. Like if I practice daily, I'm going to achieve a goal. And we'll get into it. The posture of prayer is so much receptive, but it's an active receptive. And so we want to do things in order to expose ourselves to God, in order to grow with God, in order to heal, to your point about healing being a journey. So I would write down, I'm a daughter of God at the top of the page, and then write down those labels. And some of those you're going to need to throw away.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like, I'm a failure. If it's, I'm slow, if it's whatever. But some of those things are those attributes God's given you. I'm a daughter of God and I'm athletic.
Yeah.
And I'm talented and I'm beautiful. And I think maybe the distinguisher here is, do I keep this or do I let it go? Is asking God, like, how do you see me? Right? And this is the voice of God is one that is, he's a father, and we'll get into this as we go on this podcast, but God is a father, and he's loving and he's gentle and he brings peace. Unless he's trying to like point out something in our life that's not good, then he'll bring this gut check. But predominantly, he's never accusatory. He never reduces us. All those things. So if the statement that comes out is something that's good and beautiful and a part of us, then that's from God, right? If it's something that is reducing our worth, is pulling us away from that true identity as daughter, that's the voice of the devil. And so those are the things that we want to just, I would just put a line through it, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that exercise itself will just help us live that deeper reality of our inherent worth.
Yeah. And when you cross them off, it's like that's not just the cross it off, okay, now I don't think about it. It's like, be competitive about getting rid of those lies you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
If we're going to be competitive for 6 hours of our day competing for a spot or
all
whatever.
Hours of our day.
Yeah, right. It's like, be competitive about getting rid of those lies you've been telling yourself. Like, if you have to fake it so you make it and read all those good ones first and then skip over the crossed out line, but like, get them off of there and reread that top line. I'm a daughter of God, because that is ultimately what we should be telling ourselves, right?
Amen.
So,
Amen. And I'll be excited to see, as we journey together through this topic and through that deep identity and the fulfillment of that, how you notice your heart begin to shift in your view of yourself and ultimately your view of God.
Yeah.
So, well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
First episode.
Some fireworks went off I wasn't expecting. But that's the gift of the Holy Spirit. So thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in, for joining us in our new studio. Please give us a follow, leave some comments on whatever platform you're listening to. We would encourage you to join our Patreon community, this new community, this new fierce Patreon community we have going on. We'd like for it to be a place to receive your commentary, your questions, your feedback, so that we can continue to journey with you.
Yeah, we're excited. Thanks for being here.
And God bless you all. Know of our prayers for you, and we will be with you again next week.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us. And remember, be fierce.